At this very moment, ladies and gentlemen, we're proceeding into another very thought-provoking session where we'll be exploring more about how artificial intelligence is influencing our culture and also reshaping creativity. And with the understanding of this, I'll be bringing to stage some of our panelists. At the mention of their name, would like you all to please give them a resounding clap. Are we together now? Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome and receive with me the marketing and business leader in no other person than Adebola Williams. Put your hands together for Adebola Williams, marketing and business leader. Also would like to bring to stage the module director of BPP University in no other person than Winston Ailemo. Put your hands together for Winston, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, sir. I remember Mr. Winston from our childhood. We grew up together. Ladies and gentlemen, also I'd like to bring to stage to join on the panel in other person than the AI fame architect, iFlix 360, Oduwaye Ayotomiwa. Put your hands together for Oduwaye Ayotomiwa. Thank you. Next to join is no other person than the Customer Growth Manager, Africa Infobip. Please make welcome Isaac Akanni. Put your hands together for Isaac Akanni. Celebrate. And lastly, for now, will be a moderator for this session. As a business correspondent from New Central TV. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome and receive with me Joanna Mustapha. Put your hands together for Joanna Mustapha. Thank you. Together they'll be discussing the brand storytelling in Africa, the role of AI in building authentic consumer narratives. Everyone, please have a great time. Thank you.
Hello. All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to moderate this panel. And I have to say that when I saw the title, I had an eyebrow raised, right? Brand storytelling in Africa, the role of AI, that is artificial intelligence, and building authentic consumer narrative. And I thought, how do we have artificial and authentic in the same sentence? How do we navigate that conversation? I'll be honest, I'm a skeptic, right? When the MD of TVC brought it up, AI villain for me, right? But that doesn't mean I don't use it, because if we're being honest, it's efficient, right? But my question is on how effective, right, it is. I watch adverts online. There was one I saw recently, a multinational, big company, and they put together a video ad using AI, and I went through the comment section and you could see the pushback immediately. Disappointment from people that you too. So you can sense that resistance. Even on television when I'm having interviews, I can tell when my guest is reading AI or giving me an AI answer, and I immediately detach. And I imagine I'm not the only one in the room that feels that way. And how much more with brand storytelling, where the idea of storytelling is to as in how you tell the story, who you use to tell the story, the emotions you provoke while telling the story, and how those emotions push your customer or consumer to act, right? That's, I believe, the whole idea of brand storytelling. But I have an amazing lineup of panelists. I've dug a hole a bit, right? Skeptic, so you're going to have to dig us out of that hole. And I'm going to begin with you, Mabel, and an excellent presentation you gave. Many brands are using artificial intelligence to generate content, personalized messaging, and so many other things that we may not even know about. So where do we draw the line, right, when it comes to intelligent automation and authentic human storytelling, especially in a market where trust and emotion is key?
While I was presenting, I mentioned something that we need to understand: at what points do we need to automate? And at what points do we need to take a pause to put in some human elements into the conversation? And I will try to be practical with this particular question that you asked me. Take, for instance, you are creating, and you have a product, you have an initiative that you just launched, and then you want to talk to people about how they need to participate in it. Maybe previous years you've had testimonials, right, about people who have used that particular product, who have engaged with it, and how it has benefited them. Tell me, are you going to use AI video to create that? You can't, because you're speaking to me on a product that you launched some years back. You're speaking to me on a product that people have used. You're speaking to me on, you want me to take action based on their how it has benefited them. I need to see the reality. I need to understand that you have used it. Oh, I can connect with you because you stay somewhere in my area, right? Imagine now using AI. And AI content, AI human is the one giving me that testimonial. It is dead on arrival. So for a content creator, for brands who will be creating content, who will be telling stories, I think it is very important for us to understand what is the objective of this particular story that I want to tell. What do I want people to get out of it? I want you to take action. I want you to buy my product because I want you to I want to leverage on Mabel's experience. I need to see Mabel's experience in action. I need to see that this is the true Mabel who have used that product and who understands what I am feeling. If I'm not able to see that, it is dead on arrival. So for brands is understanding what is the objective of this particular story that I want to tell. Who do I want to take action? I want them to buy. I want them to buy because of my testimonials. So AI isn't the best platform to use. Yes, you can use for ideas, right? And that was what we're talking about, increasing productivity. We're talking about generating the prompts that you put in. So it is fine. But when it comes to end of that story, there's that human element that you need to bring into that story. If you fail to do that, you will not be able to achieve your objective at the end of the day. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that answer. So there's definitely a line to be drawn, and it begins by identifying the objective. I'm coming now to you, Adebola. We're beginning with the ladies. And I imagine driving AI adoption may not be as easy, in Africa as compared to Western countries because of how rich our culture is, right? Our language, our values, how we behave. And I'm trying to imagine how we begin, if we should even begin to do that, incorporate that into our storytelling. So how can brands create generic AI-powered narratives without flattening the African identity and experience?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. And whenever I hear AI, content, I always have to remind anyone I'm speaking to that we're marketers. AI, content, whatever it is, there's one objective as a marketing person. You want to sell market, period. Right? This market that you're selling, it's not the content is not the important thing. The vehicle is not the important thing. The most important thing is the consumer truth. That truth is what gets them to get up from where they are and to take action, right? So when we talk about AI and the African context, what I find is that when you put in a prompt into any of the AI agents, most times they get us generically as Africans. And I think that's where the danger is. The danger is the fact that they would spool response that somewhat resembles what we should be. From an image perspective, they look like you and I. Forget grading, forget everything else. You prompt it, wear this outfit, look this way, it will give you that. But what's missing is the soul. It's the who am I? And how do I behave in relation to products? AI does not know that in the north, for instance, if you want to cook a pot of soup, they would crush 10 seasoning cubes in a pot, whereas if you come to the south, they will crunch just 2 cubes. AI does not know that. AI does not know that in the north, the man goes to the market, either based on the instruction of the wife or what they want to cook. AI doesn't know that. The only person that knows that is us that are in this room. So I think the narrative is not the AI and what it's going to bring out, but the quality of insights that we as marketers have and the quality of prompts we're able to give to AI. And that's the game changer. I think it was last year, I was listening to Sam Altman's interview. I'm sure we all know who Sam Altman is. And he said 95% of what marketers do with agencies in terms of creativity would be done by AI. And I agree with him 100%. Perhaps creative agencies and production agencies might be extinct. But that 95% is not the important factor here. You see, that 5% is the human insight, is the purchasing behavior. We're talking about AI content. There's AI content for entertainment. But as marketers in this room, there's AI for selling. I want to sell at the end of the day. At the end of the day, it's my P&L. But you see, that 5% is the most important factor in the conversation, because that 5% is the human truth that I don't think that in the nearest future, especially in Africa, AI is going to be able to wrap their heads around. And it's simple. We're talking about Africa. Let's talk about Nigeria. How many tribes do we have in Nigeria? How many languages? How many cultures? Even we sitting down here, we can't wrap our heads around it. Talk less of AI. I'll give you another example. So I was working in a company, and you know multinationals where you have your creative agency sitting in one other country here. And I needed them to do a script for me on a dairy brand. And someone came with a script where a guy was drinking tea at a party. Classic AI. So really and truly, from an African context, I think AI would have a lot to catch up on. AI would need to first come and understand the individual ethnicities, their languages, their behavior, their customs and cultures. And for me as a marketer, their purchasing behavior in order for that content to be relevant to me.
So for you, it's a matter of time, right? We'll continue to prompt and feed it that data for it to understand the African context better.
It's not just time. I think the person who is sitting behind the machine also needs to change. I think that it needs to be inclusive. Because one of the main issues we have is that there's no inclusivity. Okay. And when I say it needs to be inclusive, it means that you need people who understand. You need the man who is speaking Twi in the room. You need the man who is speaking. Everybody thinks Hausas are the same. They are not the same. They are different languages. You need those people and their culture in the conversation. And until you do that, it will continue to get us generally, but in terms of what the soul of who we are, it still has a long way to go.
I'm not quite sure that can completely be replicated, but time will have to tell. Thank you so much for that. I'm coming down to you, Winston, and we know that there's almost this FOMO with companies who are not using, like, I have to use it, everybody else is using it, I need to catch up, I need to keep up, and you know, with speed, sometimes you lose the structure and the governance and all the framework that should guide adoption. So, I mean, what governance and leadership or capability gaps do you think African businesses need to address to use AI responsibly with storytelling or consumer engagement?
Thank you very much. I mean, so much has been said, and I'm glad that there's a pattern that is being designed here. The emphasis around the human part of AI or human part of technology. You know, I've always said it, humans created technology. That's a fact. Humans are behind, you know, the manipulation or the operations of technology. That's a fact. There was never a time, I believe, that technologies were created to replace human. I don't think so. You know, but however, we've gone about it in such a way that we ourselves as humans, we are allowing, or we are even deliberately wanting technology to replace us. And that's the red flag, Governance, it is very, very important, At the session this morning, there was a question around, is AI a threat? And that's one of the role of governance, to make sure that AI does not become a threat in any way, in any form, governance. And when we talk about governance, it's just about a set of guidelines that ensures that everyone operates according to a set standard, in order to achieve, the desired outcome. So for us to get to that point whereby when it comes to storytelling with our brands, there must be a set of guidelines that we all must respect, in such a way that when we begin to tell stories with our brands, we ensure that we are achieving the desired connection. Because at the end of the day, when we tell stories that do not connect, it's going to be a huge waste of time, waste of money, and waste of human personnel. I mean, long before AI arrived, the best campaigns, go and check, the best campaigns had always been campaigns that is telling the right story. Go and check. I can give you lots of examples. I've crisscrossed about 5 or 6 multinationals in this country at senior commercial level for over 25 years. Trust me, the best campaigns are campaigns that have very strong human connection. AI can generate the content, but only human can make meaning out of the content. Trust me. And the best storytelling today will have to be a combination of artificial intelligence, cultural intelligence, and emotional intelligence. And governance has a strong role to make that happen.
Right. And speaking of, just a follow-up, right? Otherwise, because what we're saying here may just be suggestion or advice. Are there guardrails when it comes to legal guardrails or guidelines from regulators? Is that in place? Is that something Africa is falling behind on?
Yes, that's a fact. Yeah, there are, but compliance, it's the major issue. And out. Hello. This morning I got to find out that there are policies guiding the marketing profession. And these policies had been created long ago, and the policies are so robust that almost all that we complain today are embedded in that policy, but compliance had been an issue. And that's the role of governance. In this part of the world, it's not just this part of the world. Even in some parts of advanced world, the challenges are there, trust me. But the difference might be that, when it comes to compliance, they take it more serious. There are their consequences and all of that. But yeah, it's lip service. So we need the right structures in place, the right parastatals who could help drive compliance.
Thank you very much for that, Winston. I'm coming now to, Isaac. And we had Adebola emphasize a lot on trust, right? And how that is key in the whole experience with storytelling. Consumers trust based off of, familiarity, understanding. It's a relevant story that's being told. So how can brands use AI-powered communication tools to strengthen these relationships without losing that emotional relevance and authenticity?
Right, thank you. Good morning, everyone. And I like that you referenced what she said, because at the end of the day, like she said, the bottom line really is profit. How are we going to make money out of this? And that's the truth. That's why we're here. And so everything I'll share with us today is based on data. And I say data because I manage a platform that we have to prove when we deploy these tools. Before we used to call it digital transformation. Now it's called AI. But the bottom line is, how do you use tech to create interesting stories? And what we've seen by data is that it's never been a case of people don't know what to do. It's a case of the way organizations are structured does not allow them to do the right thing. So I give you an example. A marketing team standing alone is going to say, we sent a wonderful campaign, we personalized the messages, our messages are on point, check, thank you. Customer support is going to say, we responded to tickets on time, we did everything right, we used AI tools to do ticket triage, check. Customer lifecycle is going to come and say, we tagged our customers efficiently, we did all that interestingly. But there is no connection between all those three departments, and that's where problems start to occur. Because if a customer comes, for example, and many of you can relate with this, you raise the ticket with your bank. The ticket is taking 6-7 days. It hasn't been resolved. And then in the middle of that, the marketing team sends you a fancy mail and says, oh, we are just thinking about you. That message feels very tasteless at that point because you're saying, guy, I have a ticket with you that I've not responded to. So the first step is really leveraging that data effectively. And I use banks a lot because banks have that data on everyone. After the government, maybe telcos, banks hold so much data with us, but it's usually siloed within different departments. And the first step to creating truly personalized engagements is to find a way to unify all those data points together. Once the data starts speaking to each other, you can tell a richer story about your customers, and then you can send messages that are genuinely personalized, not just calling them by their first name, but messages that get to them at the time when they need it exactly. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much for that. And I'm coming down to you, Tomiwa. I think it was Mabel during her presentation spoke on how AI is increasing productivity and how efficient it's making work. But then there are concerns that the ecosystem can easily get flooded because now everybody has access. We just type in a prompt and, there's content created. So, are there concerns around the risk of flooding the system with high volume, but again, low authentic content?
Well, I'm going to say both because 2 years ago when the AI boom came about and I started using these tools, I tried to make some short films with AI, and although the stories were great, but the technical part of the AI was still at its infant stage. So I couldn't really achieve much with it. And you could see that this thing was AI. Like the way they were moving, the way the voices sound, you looked at them and said, oh, this is AI. But fast forward to today, with the advancement of these tools, like the new Sedans 2.0, you can prompt something and it's going to give you something so realistic that if somebody does not tell you that this is AI, you're not going to believe that it's AI. And before, they were not even considering Africa and Nigeria in our when they were designing this thing. So you say, hey, prompt Lagos for me. It was going to give you an Indian-looking person, or you tell you, okay, I want a Yoruba man in Ibadan. You are going to get Jamal in New York. So, but now they're putting it into context. And that was when I realized that, okay, this tool can be finally accessible to everybody, that a gifted filmmaker who does not have a producer, does not have a camera crew, but has a story to tell, can finally have access to these tools and make something for them. And he can pour his heart, his soul into this tool. And you're not going to tell him that his content is not real just because he made it with AI. So, camera, and people tell you that, okay, there are going to be a lot of low quality content out there, but we also shoot with cameras and a lot of low quality content, and there are also good content. So the people that are going to stand above the flood, because the flood is coming, as these tools become more accessible and everybody gets access to it, are the people that have a deep cultural knowledge and a deep technical understanding of how to use these tools. So they are the one that is going to be above the flood. The rest of everybody else will just be what I called AI slop. So it's going to be both. There's going to be a lot of low quality content, but then there's also going to be a lot of high quality content. And then now we finally have the chance to tell our story, because the only thing Hollywood has over us is, I would say, they have the budget, but we have the story. I can make an action movie in my room right now with AI, and you think it was made with a $50 or $100 million budget. So it's going to be both. That's what I'm going to say. Thank you.
All right, hopefully we're able to stay above water. I'm coming now to Mabel, and you work with a bank, and trust is the major currency, right, with banks. I'm in this AI age, and even my experience, customer care that has been ARized, if I can put it that way. I know the frustrations that I have, right? So how can brands have AI-driven, not just storytelling, even in their operations, right? To humanize some of the complex products and services without making communication feel overly engineered and transactional?
Okay, first is the guys using this AI tools. How competent are they in terms of even understanding what they're supposed to do? So you give me a platform to engage customer with, right? I think it was Winston who said something about the kind of prompt that you put in those the platform, and I'm supposed to use AI to engage customers based on their journey. If I don't even understand the customer journey, trust that what I'm putting as the first is what should maybe come at the third, as the third or as the fourth. There was a time we had to rework some platforms in terms of based on feedback. Remember I said something earlier about listening. And for me, that is very important when, even if you're introduced to a new tool, let me say that we're still at the introductory stage with AI. AI is going to do a lot that, and I'm afraid of it. I am scared. Recently, my husband said, my son asked something, and the next thing he said, can you check chat GPT? And he called and said, which one is, like, acting as if he doesn't know, so that the boy doesn't ask him, oh, are you using it? So that I don't get into that conversation. So the thing is, the person that you put behind that tool, what is their competency level to be able to prompt correctly? What is their competency level to be able to know how to adapt it based on the journey of the customer? You want to use AI to prompt, to engage customers who probably had some concerns on their accounts. And then the next thing is, you reach out to me on social media and I say, welcome, blah, blah, the first greeting. And then the next thing, I'm telling you I have a problem. And you're still greeting me because maybe there is some prompt that you put in the AI. But at that point, you need to understand that this customer is maybe aggressive right now. This is the time for me to move it to the human element. So it is your responsibility as an organization to understand, who am I putting behind this? What is their competency level? What is their knowledge to be able to understand at what point do I introduce the human element? So for me, it's not, and I said it during my presentation, that personalization isn't authenticity. It is not. So I see when you engage me, I know it is prompt. God help you, you meet a customer like Mabel, and the first response you are giving me doesn't align. I'm not greeting you. Why are you greeting me? I'm not, there are a lot of those things. So it's the people that you put behind the tool. Are you sure that they are competent enough to be able to handle it? Are you sure that they understand at what point do they need to bring in the human element? Are you sure that they understand at what points they need to bring in the optimization on AI to be able to adapt and engage properly? So we tell stories, we engage with customers. My case is different from your case. It might look similar. It might be some deduction somewhere, but mine can be a deduction that happened 2 months ago and is happened yesterday. Mine can be reoccurring and he is the first time. You're not going to engage us the same way. So it is very important that brand owners, we understand who are we putting behind us, the proper training that they need to get so that they understand end-to-end the level. With this, you should be able to manage efficiently. But if you fail to do that, it's from frying pan to fire. And then we're speaking to people's money. You don't have the time to waste when it comes to engaging them on how you want to solve their problem.
Round of applause for her for that response. There's a lot of supervision and judgment calls that need to be made from the human, angle of things. Yes. All right. So let's come back to you, Adebola. Our trust, madam. You've highlighted that you've placed a lot of emphasis and the role that plays in moving market, selling market. Let's come to also retaining market. So sometimes you run a campaign, it does very well digitally. You get all the numbers, and maybe it was from AI, right? So what separates storytelling that simply performs well on the digital space from storytelling that actually builds that long-term, retention and customer loyalty and trust?
So I think we've touched on a lot of it. So building that trust is still coming from context at the end of the day. I think that consumers are now more aware. They're conscious of the fact that they're conscious when you speak to them from a place of authenticity. They're also, I mean, if you look at the algorithm today, it's very performative. Everybody's performing for the algorithm, right? So that in itself is shaping culture, because at the end of the day, it starts becoming reality. But then you as a consumer, you're frustrated because you don't see yourself in it, right? And the question is, do I join the bandwagon and abandon
Authenticity.
No, because at some
Originality?
point when everything you see, so let me give you an example. If you go on social media today, if one person drops a content and that content performs well, give it 2 days, you have like 500 people replicating the same content because of the algorithm, because they know that if I do a similar content, I would also perform well. But that doesn't build loyalty. Loyalty comes from understanding the why of the consumer. Loyalty comes from building affinity. Loyalty comes from, I see you, you see me, I understand you, regardless of the how, regardless of the platform, regardless of the AI tool or whatever you decide to use. And I like that you're speaking about personalization at scale. I was saying earlier that I have a slightly different opinion. I think that personalization at scale, when done right, to a smaller interest group, right? I think it works. But again, it also depends on the stories that you're telling. But I also like to always take it back to the consumer, because at the end of the day, as marketers, I mean, for me, coming from an FMCG background, that's the crux of the matter. Authenticity is understanding who I am as a person. And that's what builds loyalty over time. So I can perform for the algorithm. I can put in prompts and have beautiful looking content. I've done a campaign before and we were also excited about it. But when we took it to the north, it fell flat. I'll give you another example. I don't know if you remember this ad that Adobe did in 2020 about a little girl who used their tools, the AI, blah, 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 to bring ice cream to her community or something. And it performed very well. Same company, 4 years later, they had another campaign where they used the same tools, similar tools upgraded, but to finish like basic admin stuff. It did terribly because there was no connection there. But the little girl, realizing that her favorite ice cream shop had closed, and then decides to use the tools to bring the ice cream truck to her neighborhood and design the truck and all that, resonated more with people. And that's why it performed very well in the top 1% of ads within that category. So authenticity is very important, but authenticity comes from what she has said, context. Context from where? Context not just from what AI knows, but what we as marketers are vetting. Is there a gatekeeping, or are we just churning things out?
And I think the follow-up question from all you've said, especially where you started with, content may just be being pushed in your face because of the algorithm and get a lot of clicks, but how effective is it? Should agencies, marketers, brands begin to reconsider how they assess the success of a campaign, or what constitutes a successful campaign?
Absolutely. Absolutely. From a marketing perspective, you can have a successful campaign that has not moved your client's needle. You've entertained everybody. Have I sold? No. And we see that a lot when agencies come, they come with beautiful presentations with ideas that you're jumping off the trampoline and skiing on this water and falling off a skyscraper, and then at the end of the day, wham, Makaton. How relevant is it? It's okay to get excited, but get excited within the context of the reality of your consumers. And that's why gatekeeping is very important. And the only people who can do that gatekeeping are the people in this room. Because we are the custodians of the brands and we are responsible for what the consumers get to see at the end of the day. So I like to always bring it back to marketing and the reason why we exist as a collective.
Thank you so much for that. And a round of applause, please. We're not done yet. I'm coming down to Isaac, and we've heard a lot about personalizing. And AI is enabling brands to personalize communication at an unprecedented scale. So from your perspective, how can organizations ensure that hyper-personalized engagement still feels authentic rather than overly automated or intrusive?
All right, thank you very much. So like you know already, I'm for data and for profit. So when we say hyper-personalization, it's not intrusion. It's sending messages that are targeted and are relevant to the users at the time when they need it. And the bedrock of this is data, right? I'll keep saying data many times because once you get data right, you get personalization right. Once you get personalization right, you get AI right. And I'll give you an example. Let's say a user or a person earns 500,000 per month, right? And they take a car loan of 20 million naira from you. At that moment, that car loan is one of their biggest investments or their biggest assets. Once that transaction is completed for a financial institution, that is the best time to offer them premium insurance because they would take it, right? So you see the journey, they are earning 500K, they take a loan of 20 million, they buy a car, you offer premium insurance, maybe 20%, 15%, about 300K, they're going to take it, right? And now data has also shown that once they take that insurance, if they're a first-time car owner, they are very likely to bash the car within 6 to 9 months. And you can agree, your first car, someone hit you, you hit someone, or you bust your tail light, something is going to happen. When they make that first insurance claim and it's successful, that is also the best time to then offer them any other insurance product you have, because you've opened their mind to say that insurance is like free money for them. So you can see at every time you are offering them products, it's not because you are just offering because you feel like, you're offering at times when it is relevant. And this is what AI can do for you. So within every of your customer touch points, you begin to see patterns and things that you can track and things that tells you the best time to trigger messages. I'll give you another example. When do you think is the best time to offer a customer payday loan? Data shows a week before salary comes. You know why? Because in their head, they are saying, I'm expecting money next week, so let me take this loan. But data also shows they will not pay back that loan, right? Because whatever made them take a loan before their salary comes in means they are probably tight on cash. So for a financial institution, you know they are more likely to take that loan a week before, so you offer them the loan. You know they're also more likely to default on that loan and get you higher interest rates, so they offer that. And so you begin to see these journeys across your data points, across every time your customer interacts with you, and it's there, right? You just need to use the data to look for it and then optimize it. And like I always say, if you put AI on top of a terrible human experience, you're going to have an efficient but terrible experience. So the goal itself is not to use AI, is to use those tools to find the part where you've created a system that works humanly and then use AI to accelerate it. That's the sweet spot. Thank you.
I'm not going to let you chance me. One more question. Winston, and then I'll give them a final word, please. AI is becoming more embedded with communication, as has been displayed here, in creative industry. So how can business leaders, rethink, those who are making the top decision, how can they rethink the relationship between technology, creativity, human intuition when they're building authentic consumer narratives? And how should the leaders, how should they allow that trickle down to those, on the factory floor?
I'm going to try and sum it up, leaving us with 5 messages. Number 1, at leadership level, we must, it's not a matter of, it's not a choice, it's not an option. We must get involved and get involved deeply. We must know it. Because what you don't know, what you don't have, even when garbage is thrown at you, if you don't have an idea, so we must, to be able to get to that position whereby, yes, we cascade down leading edge, best in class strategies, around storytelling, we must be involved, the message must be African. We can take cues from global, but it must be African, So I'm just going to sum it up that way. Thank you.
Finally, Tomiwa, I've not heard enough from you, so if you can give us the final word on this panel.
Well, the final word is that a lot of people are, how would I call them? They have this hatred for AI. Like when I post a video on LinkedIn, you just see them in the comments. This is slow, this is bad. No, you are not. Like, I'm just here to tell you that AI cannot replace creatives, because you can. If I give you a tool now, an AI tool to make a movie, and I give, let's say, Tunde Kilani or Steven Spielberg to make a movie with that same tool, they are going to be 100 times better than you, because they have the fundamentals and they understand what to say to the tool and how they're going to use the tool. So the only people that AI is going to take their job are the creatives that don't leverage on AI. So when you leverage on AI, it makes your work faster, it makes your work easier, and because somebody that is not a creative can never do what you are doing, because they don't have the knowledge, they don't have the cultural superiority, and they don't understand the fundamentals. Thank you.
Round of applause, please, for all my panelists.
Please don't leave. Please. Another round of applause for all our panelists. Media, please, and 8 volume. Please, I would like the convener, Dr. Victor. Is Dr. Afolabi in the all place? Omen Colon, VGA, and also Mr. Joshua to come take pictures with our panelists. Thank you very much for that very insightful session. One more time, ladies and gentlemen, another round of applause for this fantastic and amazing panelists. God bless you.